Hey everybody, welcome back to the homestead. My name is Kevin and this is my wife Sarah. Well, today in southern Missouri it is cold. Just like a lot of you, we are being hit by this polar vortex, I think they're calling it, which just doesn't even sound pleasant.
No.
It's probably not as cold here as it is for a lot of you, so we're still glad to be here in Missouri. We are in the low teens, even single digits with the wind chill. So for us, who are pretty wimpy, that is cold.
Not only that, but you guys, we spent 20 years in the Phoenix, Arizona area where we became giant wimps. So over the last day or so, we've actually been reminiscing about the mild weather there. I spoke to one of my friends that's still living there and she let me know that their kids have been outside in their swimming trunks, swimming in their irrigation water. That's just how warm it's been there. But we still love it in Missouri. We never want to move again, but we are just kind of dreaming back to when it was warm in the mild winters of Arizona.
Just recently, we've been getting a lot of questions from you guys about the urban homestead that we used to have in the Phoenix area. So we wanted to kind of go back and tell you some of that story, especially for those of you who are new and may not know all of our backstory. But for those of you who have been following us for a while, don't leave. We have some new footage that I found when I was looking through some of our old things that actually shows our old urban homestead. So we're going to be showing you some of that footage later on in this video. But just to go back in time a little bit, the backstory of Sarah and I, we both grew up in Wisconsin. We got married when we were pretty young. We were 22 when we got married. We were 19 when we started dating. So we've been married now for 20 years. Right after we got married, we moved away from Wisconsin. We felt like we had to kind of spread our wings and be off on our own and make our own life. So we moved first to Texas for just a real short while, didn't really like it there, and then we ended up in the Phoenix area because I had a friend living there.
While we were in the Phoenix area, Kevin and I worked corporate jobs. We pursued our dream to have great professional careers. Kevin worked in sales and I worked in human resources. But over time, we realized that our hearts were not really in corporate America. We were dreaming for something more and more independent for ourselves and our family.
Yeah, Sarah grew up in a very small town in Wisconsin, and I grew up, on the outskirts of a town in Wisconsin, and we both kind of had that rural, feel to our childhood, and I think ultimately we both realized that living in a big city, especially as big as Phoenix, just wasn't what we wanted to do, but we weren't really sure how to get out. So the best thing that we thought to be able to do was to try to bring the country to the city.
So we started looking for properties within the city area that had more land, but we quickly realized that we couldn't afford any of them because Phoenix is so expensive. So we continued digging and realized that there were a couple properties that were foreclosed, bank owned, and in really rough shape. We were fortunate enough to get one, but it was so run down that even our realtor said, you should probably just bulldoze the whole thing and start over.
Yeah, basically he said, this is, a nice piece of land, the land itself, like the size of the land, but everything on it and everything, including the house, should probably just be knocked over and, just build a new house. Now, Sarah and I have always been pretty smart with our money, so we knew that that wasn't an option for us. We weren't going to buy this piece of property and then, build this brand new house and go way into debt for something that we really couldn't afford. It was 1.25 acres of land and an older house that was built in the, I think, early 60s. But there was something about it that we really liked, and the more we went back and looked at it several times before we ever put an offer in on it, the more we realized that this was going to be the piece of land for us.
Absolutely. There was a charm even about the house that was in pretty bad shape, but we were able to develop a vision from where it was at the time to what we could turn it into, but mostly with a lot of blood, sweat, and tears. We don't like spending money, but we don't mind working hard. And after a lot of hard work, we were able to turn that old house into a really nice, cute home, and we developed our homestead land.
So enough talking about it. Let's actually show you what our urban homestead looked like by looking back at some of these old videos.
So wasn't that fun to be able to look back and see where it all started for us? You know, a major appeal to us with that property is that right from the start, there were a lot of trees and fruit trees and things like that that we were able to just move into and start taking advantage of. There were 10 citrus trees.
Right, mature citrus trees.
4 pecan trees.
Mature pecan trees.
Right, a date palm, a giant fig tree, like a giant fig tree.
One might say mature.
Okay, mature mulberry trees as well.
Along with all of the trees that were there was also a couple animal pens that were there, so that kind of gave us a jump start on things. We just had to fix them up and cut down a bunch of weeds. But it really gave us a jump start on being able to get our homestead up and running. It's something to think about when you're looking at properties yourself is, you know, you need to look past what it may look like now and look at what potential is there.
One of the first things that we did on our homestead was put in a garden. We added a 50-foot by 50-foot back to Eden garden, which worked really well for us in that area. In fact, our neighbors behind us were sure that we'd never be able to grow anything, and we shocked them every single year with the tall tomato plants with these nice juicy tomatoes and just everything else that we pulled out of that garden. The neighbors were just amazed.
It's not easy to garden in the desert, but the back to Eden method definitely helped us there. Unlike here in Missouri, where I think it's just too wet, in Arizona, those wood chips did a great job. And because we were in the city, we were actually able to connect with a tree company who would just drop off wood chips whenever we needed them, which was a huge help.
Absolutely. We planted a small orchard in that property. We ended up bringing lots of different types of animals onto the homestead.
So we wanted to be kind of encouraging to those of you who may have just an acre of land. You know, now we have 15 acres of land here in Missouri, but to be honest, you don't need that much land. What you really need is to sit down and really think out the plan of your homestead. We were able to be completely off of grocery store meat by the time we left Arizona. We were raising all of our family's meat from that 1 acre of land. It just takes a little more planning than it does on a bigger piece of property.
And one thing that we really had to resist on that piece of property was going overboard with the numbers of animals that we had.
Right.
On 1 1/4 acres, it would be really easy to get in trouble with too many animals,
right,
and not create a good, healthy living environment for them. We also really had to think about planning with free-ranging our birds, our poultry. We had layer chickens that free-ranged the back, probably third of our property all the time.
Right.
But then we rotated the ducks and the turkeys because they didn't always get along.
Right.
So we would rotate that either by the time of the day, or one day rotate the ducks, the other day the turkeys, to make sure that they still had the opportunity to get out and free range. So it just required a lot of thinking and planning to make sure that everything would work for the best of everybody. So because our property there was actually a county zoned property versus a city or town zoned property, we were able to do things that were pretty awesome. We were actually able to have a farm stand right out on the front of our property. We actually lived on a pretty busy street, and we were actually able to sell our garden products right out in front of the house.
So we were able to do all of those things on our urban homestead while still working full time. We were working both 40+ hours per week, and then evenings and weekends would be our homestead time. And we want this story to be an encouragement to you guys that you really can do a lot on a small piece of land.
Right, and even while you're still working, just make every moment count, and it is just as fulfilling and exciting.
The only bad part is you may find yourself sitting at your job only daydreaming about what you want to be doing at your homestead.
For real, that happened. So you guys, we really hope that this was an encouragement to you, and we hope that those of you who are new to our channel, that you have a little bit more understanding of how we started, where we came from, and those kinds of things. Hey, if you enjoyed this video and if you're enjoying our channel, we would love for you to subscribe. Don't forget to check us out on all of our social media, including Instagram. And until next time, thanks so much for stopping by our homestead. Take care and God bless.
God bless.